70s or 80s or 90s. That's reason. It's reason enough to toll the statute and to prosecute. That's why they prosecuted.
I agree with that. That's why they prosecuted. The problem is they prosecuted the wrong. I mean, Monsignor Lynn had no direct control or authority or affinity to this young man.
Except for the priest. That's the part I don't understand. That's the part I don't understand. Avery pleaded guilty, so they prosecuted that man. You're saying the Monsignor had no direct control over the child, but he did have direct control over the priest who had direct control over the child. And why doesn't that assume any responsibility, in your opinion?
Because at the time that this offense occurred, the law did not provide for one in that position. The law has been amended. It was amended in 07. Going forward, a supervisor of a supervisor can now be prosecuted. But in Monsignor Lynn's case, the law was not that in that time frame. They had to prove that he was either a parent, a guardian, or a supervisor. And let me say this. There is no question in my mind that the district attorney in this case, when they brought this charge against Monsignor Lynn, they knew full well that he did not fit within that statutory scheme. Because it was the district attorney's office over an extended period of time that lobbied the legislature to change the law so they could in fact prosecute people like Monsignor Lynn if they could prove it. But, you know, the reality is they knew going in that this law didn't apply to him. And it didn't apply to him. And, you know, that's the end of the story.
Right, but
we are all sympathetic to the fact.
It can't be, Mr. President. I get that it's the end of the process in as much as this statute was misapplied and then that's gone. But that's the system and how the system works. That doesn't mean that the right thing was done in the situation. You just said yourself there's a new law now that would cover Monsignor Lynn. And I just wonder what your take is, whether or not you feel that your client did the right thing in the situation.
I think he did absolutely the right thing. If you read the record in this case, you will be surprised at how hard he worked and how many priests he had to deal with that were accused of sexual abuse. It simply wasn't Avery. There were many. And he handled each of them as best he could. So that, you know, it wasn't a situation where he, and believe me, there is no evidence in this record. I sat through this trial for 3 months. There was no evidence in this record whatsoever that he willingly transferred knowing abusers to other parishes, knowing that they were going to abuse.
But there was so much evidence.
It was very hard. Don't forget.
Please go ahead, Mr. President. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead.
That's all right. I mean, he literally committed Avery to 9 months of inpatient therapy. And the doctors in that inpatient therapy were satisfied that Avery was not going to abuse again. He relied on those doctors time and time again. Okay? So he did his due diligence. I mean, you know, he did all that he physically could do.
Did the Monsignor report
with all the other cases?
Did he report anybody to the police?
Oh, absolutely, he reported people to the police.
He reported Avery to the police?
No, he did not report Avery to the police.
So you put him in treatment because you know he molests kids, but you don't report him to the police. You understand why that frustrates people?
Wait a minute. The one case that was on Monsignor Lynn's radar back in 1992 was a case involving a young man by the name of, I won't have to mention his name. Sure. It was a case that occurred in 1978. That's the case that was on Monsignor's radar, not the Avery case with this young man who came forward in 2010. It was a case involving alleged fondling, period. And the young man met with Father Lynn. Father Lynn then had Avery committed with regard to that particular case. And as I